quite right, that everything was just ever so slightly askew.
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome to I Am Nature. I am your host, Brian Porter. This is the show where we seek to solve environmental problems, and we talk a fair bit about eco-villages. And that's one of the areas of expertise of my guest today. His name is David Dene. David, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Brian. Nice to hear you. Thank you for having me on your show again. Great.
Yeah, you've been on a few times now. It's been it's been fun. You've been sort of like a special guest advisor. It's been great to have you on, and it's nice that you're so available and so competent in all your areas.
No, it's great, Brian. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So, we can talk a little bit about, how should we say, founding an eco-village, perhaps, yeah?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've talked a fair bit about it on my show, but not enough, because there obviously aren't enough eco-villages on this planet. The direction we all need to go in my opinion, is off the grid living, off the industrialized food living, and we can have some technology as long as it's natural and friendly to the planet. But we all need to learn to grow our food again, heat our own water, and create our own energy. Don't you agree?
Absolutely, Brian. I'd been working as a health professional in Austria before I came here, and I came here 25 years ago. And what I came to work on a project here called the Sunseed Project, and they'd got a couple of houses here, and they had this British charity that they still do, and I came to work with them for a while, and I spent 3 months working for the project. Then I stayed for a year in my camper van to see, what sort of climate, how is the weather, how many flies, how many mosquitoes, how dry, how wet, So I did that kind of permaculture thing, which is to stop and look around, see what's there, feel the people, feel the nature. And after spending a full 12-month period, I thought, yep, this is it. This is a really nice place. And although the village was largely abandoned, everything is still owned. So it actually took me a year to buy a ruin here. And then it took me another year I think I spent a year wondering how I was going to repair it. And then we built this one up, and things proceeded. Now,
when was this, back in the early 90s that you started living? Is there a name for your village?
It's called Los Molinos del Rio de Aguas. I'm living in the southeast corner of Spain. Los Molinos means the mills, El Rio de Aguas, the river of water. And it's the only river in the province of Almeria which always has water in. That rather comes on to our second problem, which is we're losing our water. But we're discussing at the moment the actual creation of an eco-village. And I would say this was largely an unintentional happening, because people have come by over the years, stayed with Sunseed, stayed here, and been able to buy a house, and then people have put their solar panels on a house. They've organized the wastewater system, organized irrigation for the gardens, and we live very nicely off grid with the minimum of kind of interference in each other's affairs. You know, we have space to be who we are, to create what we want to create. We have 4 cultural associations in the village, and we all have space to be, you know, space to create. And I think that's one of the most important things in this 21st century, to get out from underneath the kind of almost oppressive education. You know what I mean, Brian?
Oh, I mean, most definitely. I mean, we've got to get away from the mainstream. I started that, in my 20s, early 20s. Started studying philosophy in university, and I started to realize there was other things to do in life other than to become an engineer or scientist. That was kind of the way I was brought up. That was my parents' plan for me, anyway. So, yeah, so you've gone the full distance here, but and I have to congratulate you, because a lot of people talk the talk, but not too many people walk the walk.
Mm. Well, I actually got really enthusiastic, Brian, and we formed a second community. It was about, I suppose it must have been about 15 years ago. There was some land up for sale, and it was 35 hectares. We had a price where we could get 12 members of a group, for instance, what we called it, 12 guardians of the land. And we created an escritura, which is a land deed or a property deed, making the land indivisible. So nobody could sell the land, but we could change membership. So that really is living in the desert. There's very little water there. It's in the desert of Tabernas, and it's the same land where Clint Eastwood did the bad and the ugly. So when you watch your TVs, you can see what it looks like. Films, rather. We don't like TVs these days.
Yeah, we thought that was American West.
No, man, it's where I live.
Utah, Nevada.
Yeah, this is bandit land. It's great. And what an amazing place. I mean, you can imagine watching that movie, and now you imagine we've actually got what we could call an eco-community there, because we've spread dwellings, like we've got a straw bale house, we've got some beautiful, like, kind of hobbit houses, a real mixture of constructions, and a group of people, again, living together in the sense of the large idea of community, but very individual. Very much doing their own creations. And I think that's a beauty of being in an eco-village, the sense that we can have in an eco-village, which is the sense of space where we can create. When we can create our food, for instance, and our energy as an initial investment, having good investment on solar panels, wind power, batteries, and a well-installed electrical equipment, no more bills, man. It's wonderful. And then for water here, we use a hydraulic ram pump, which brings the water up from our irrigation line. And we have a red, it's called in Spanish, like a network, which pumps the water around the village. So we're self-sufficient on electricity, we're self-sufficient on water. And for this connection with the broadband, we've got a solar panel on the mountain, and we bring the signal from one side of the mountain, and then we put it down into the village the other side of the solar panel, enabling the node, the broadcast. What do you think of that?
Well, I've heard of this system before. It is fairly common in eco-villages. It's a great idea. I mean, it's such a paradigm shift for people to go from the me world to the sharing world, the community world. And I mean, we've had some people come on my show. They thought they were going to set up villages, but when it came to actually getting things organized and talking to people, a lot of the me, big ego came out, and it sort of got in the way of doing things collectively. So how did that come up as a problem in your initial stages? People with different visions, who's going to buy the land, who owns the land? These are the key questions that are hard to get around.
Well, this is here in El Rio de Aguas. We call the village El Rio de Aguas, the river of water. That's how the local people call it as well. We didn't run into that problem because we all came in as individuals, buying an individual house, which we've managed to buy from some local person who decided to sell. Whereas in Tabernas, we did it differently. We actually bought the land. We said, okay, now we got the land. Now we're going to create a community. And it looks like that is a lot more difficult. We'd have meetings every month, and they were kind of complicated. I used to provide, the strongest local wine to kind of keep things moving, and it was kind of the little stuff kept getting in the way. Over the period of the 15 years, the community is really quite kind of stable now. We're very mixed in nationalities from Estonia, Holland, Germany, England, quite a big mixture. So we are looking at where we are in terms of, say, permaculture. We're very much an edge zone. We're the only semi-arid zone in Western Europe. We really do live in a semi-desert, you can see from the movies. And it sharpens up the intelligence a bit, because there's not much space between success and disaster. We can't make too many mistakes without really feeling them. That means that it's a very good idea to be in a sense of collaboration with one's neighbors, especially in an eco-village like here. When we have trouble in the irrigation line, we come together and we make sure we get it working again. And it's the knowledge that we're responsible for everything which goes on in our community. That's the way I like to think of it. We are responsible. This is our community. It's our water supply. It's our electricity. Then we help each other out wherever we can, of course.
Well, so in the initial stages of the first village, were you actually intending on creating an eco-village, or did it just sort of happen?
Well, it really sort of happened. I arrived, and there were another couple of people here. They were both called peers, which was quite surprising, because I never met any peers in my life before. So there was the Sunseed project. There was an American couple. There was Piers and Piers. We called them Piers Donkey and Piers Goat, because one had a donkey and one had a goat, so that was easy. And we kind of developed, it just sort of happened. Somebody else bought in, and then somebody else bought another house, and we've just developed over the 25-year period. And from being an abandoned village, now we're pretty nicely occupied. We feature on the Global Eco Village Network. It's a system which works, and for me personally, I really enjoy the sense of freedom.
How many people are living there, David, in the two communities?
Well, in Tabernas, I should say we've probably got 12 or 15 probably now. I'm not really sure, because it's a moving community. I mean, people do come and go. There's always quite a number of visitors. So in Tabernas, I would say we're probably averaging around 15. Here in El Rio de Aguas, we probably average around about 40, something like that. Actual householders, say 14 or 15, but always a lot of visitors, very international.
Is that how you raise income for your community? Is that one of the ways? Is it like a microeconomy for you?
Yeah, well, we have a couple who artisan. They're working with artisan work. They've just spent 3 months on the beach in Ecuador. They're selling. We have another man rents my second house. He's running a school for working with the agave. That's how to work with the wood of the agave, about biomass, about all the products which agave will produce. Then we got another association putting on workshops with Reiki, dragon dreaming, making solar stoves, solar ovens. And then we have the Sunseed project with their association, which covers appropriate technology, gardening, awareness of dry land, and how to work with dry land. So we're quite a wide framework of experience can be found actually just within this village. And then we have other people who make soap. I've forgotten the soap makers. And then we have another man who's a builder. So it's difficult to make enough income inside a village like this to really truly support what we need in terms of cash, which is to buy, say, a new car or an insurance or petrol or maintenance, There are always externals. can't get rid of them. Or we can, maybe we can when we change our system of economy. You know, at the moment, I think we all know that capitalism is basically not only destroying us, it's destroying the world. So, you know, on that big note, we've really got to turn capitalism on its head and have our economies following the law of nature, which is giving and sharing and not keeping for one person and hoarding. You know what I mean on that one?
Yeah, need versus greed. Interesting concept.
Yeah, I think I think share as opposed to capitalize. Follow follow the example set by nature and in the way. I was thinking of a cabbage. I was living in Austria and I had a load of cabbages, and I'm really quite into the concept of nature spirit. So I talked to the slugs and said, "Look, slugs, you know, would you just have a go at that sacrificial cabbage?" Well, forgotten why I started this story, but anyway, they ate the cabbage, so there was enough sharing of cabbage, and the other 8 cabbages they could feed me produce thousands of seeds for many more cabbages. The slugs are happy, I'm happy, everybody's happy. That's kind of being social and sharing. And the other way is, you know, I take all the cabbages and the slugs don't get anything, and you know, life's not such fun. And I also have a Monsanto seed, which is hybrid, which won't reproduce itself. So I'm really doing all things wrong. You know, that's the one way is the eco-village way. The other way is the industrial agriculture way. I like the eco-village way, of course.
Yeah, industrial is short-term gain and long-term pain because the soil is destroyed. All the organisms, microorganisms, everything we need to sustain life forever is gone. So yeah, I do think you've got a much better way. It's just it's such common sense. That's what my friend Two Dog told me when I had him on. Him and Three Crow, two people who live very close to the land, indigenous people, and they said basically, if you want to live like a native person, just use common sense. This is the word of the planet. This is the reasoning of the planet. Common sense.
But it's very uncommon.
Yeah, you know, right now it is. But I think we're all connected to it. I think we're all connected to it, and we got to return to it.
I think so, and I think, Brian, what I'm seeing in society is that we're becoming very insular in our societies. We find in towns people have a small 1-bedroom flat or whatever, and people are becoming very insular. We're getting on our computers. We're learning amazing communication skills, especially the generations, say, up to about 25, 30 years old. So we have great tools. We've learned how to use them. Now we need to use them as tools to, I would say, mobilize civilization to make a change. And in the eco-village concept, in this concept, we have the space to be who we are, rather than what society would like to squeeze us into, what kind of box, what kind of consumer. You know, here we can be who we are, and live life like human beings, not like consumer idiots.
Mm-hmm. How much land do you guys have in total between the two villages, communities?
Yeah, well, in Tabernas there's 35 hectares. Here, personally, I've got about 2 hectares. No, I've got more. I've got about 2.5 to 3 hectares. Plenty of land for growing vegetables. Some completely uninhabitable dry land, which is about 1.25 hectares, which is in acres, say about 3 acres of totally inhospitable land. About, I should say, towards 1/2 acre of irrigated land, and then terraces. We have fiestas sometimes, and I put up my sound system, 900-watt sound system, and we power all this from solar energy. And last one we had about 300 people, which was great. We had a couple of bands coming over. So,
oh, really? So you have like a large area for gatherings.
Yeah, I've got a lovely terrace. We got a JCB in. We had loads of friends from Bulgaria and Spain, and we rebuilt the terrace walls. And it's a fabulous party space. Really good. We put lights in all the trees all around, and have a nice table for a bar. Had a couple of bands last time. Really good. Then we did a presentation for the trouble we're having with our water supply, with industrial agriculture stealing our water. So we can mix, fiesta with message, just get the word out, which needs to get out there,
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And did you previous to setting up your village, did you live in any other places like an eco village before you moved here?
Well, my house has always been a bit like an eco village. Wherever I've been, I was. My family are half Irish and half English, and we never really bothered to lock the door, So there are always visitors coming in and out, and a very friendly, open atmosphere. And I kept this alive when I was in London. I bought a 4-bedroom house and treated it like a family house, so that people who came and paid rent, these were friends, I worked in the merchant navy as an assistant purser on cruise liners, so quite familiar with meeting literally thousands of people. We had 1,800 passengers on board. Also, I worked in hotels. I did a training management course in hotel work. And I've also been a tour guide of England, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. And also working in health. I did work for 1983 to 1990 in deep tissue bodywork.
So just clarify something for me. You said you work with the merchant navy?
Yeah, I worked for the P&O cruise line.
Oh, okay. So it was a freighter as well as a passenger?
No, it was a full luxury class passenger liner. 1,800 passengers, 48,000 tons. Really classy job, Brian. I got taken all over the world and got paid for it.
Oh,
good one, no?
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So that was really good, and then I became a tour guide, and I learned so much about England and Wales and Scotland and Ireland and history, architecture, art, current affairs. Brilliant job. And then I got a bit bored with that. I ran an employment agency for a while. I've been busy, I've been quite a busy life. And then I studied Hella work, which is deep tissue body work, the style of Ida Roll. And we were only 4 practitioners in the whole of Europe.
Did you say Rolf? Did you say Rolf?
Like Rolfing. You familiar with Rolfing?
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay, well, I trained with Joseph Heller, who worked with Ida Roll. And when I trained in this technique in 1983, there was myself and 3 others, and that was it in Europe. So that was great. We had a very open board. We set up the first institute in London, and then I went out to Austria. I thought, well, I like skiing, and I take my hands with me to work, so let's go get some good skiing. So I spent 5.5 years out there, skiing, snowboarding, 365 days a year if I wanted. Just right for your son, Brian. I mean,
he wishes he could be in snow all year round, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can ski 365 over there?
In Kitzbühel, yeah. Yeah, because
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, there's always glaciers to ski on. There's a Stubai Glacier that's really not too far away from Kitzbühel. And in Kitzbühel, yeah, I mean, it's really classy resort, really nice, yeah.
Oh, I've heard of Kitzbühel. That's where I think they have a World Cup race there every year.
Yeah, they have the downhill there, like quite a serious downhill.
And they probably had the Olympics there too at some point.
I don't know if they have, Brad. It would certainly be large enough to be able to do it. They could put on a good show there, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah, it might just be the World Cup then. I'm thinking of. So yeah, Kitzbühel. It really, I think it's the one that's the most treacherous course on the circuit. It's the fastest, the steepest.
It's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. I wouldn't. I've not raced it as a downhill racer. I do a bit of slalom down there, but But downhill, man, that's really pushing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
you've done a lot of things, and you ended up in an eco-village because you probably came to the same conclusion that I came to, that if you want to live in harmony with the planet, you've got to find a way to grow your own food, and to find it, people that understand that you just get this message, right?
Mm. Well, yeah, for me, it's like, well, I tried this, I tried that, I tried this, I tried that. I thought, well, I'll go into health. It's got to be a kind of an end point there. Well, I found, I learned a lot about healing, a lot about being there for people, which is always a good thing to be. And I thought, well, I need to do more. And so when I came here, we got an abandoned village, beautiful countryside. Well, man, this is really an amazing opportunity. I mean, what a place to live. And I had the house in London. I was renting that out to friends, so I kept small income coming and was able to spend a year here, check it all out, and then scratch my head and see, well, okay, let's see how we're going to finance this one. And I had a little property in England, so I sold that. And so, we managed to finance the rebuilding of the house here, and then paths, and then other people coming from all over. And then the last bit we built with the help of people from 16 different nations, which was very surprising. I didn't put any advertising out. People just kept coming in and coming in. So after that, I said, well, guys, I can't afford to pay you all, so my house is open. So I've had an open house to all the world for 17 years now. And it works. And I work it on the basis of caring and sharing, and looking for an exchange of energy, and not looking for an exchange of money. If we can keep out the money world, that is better than everything.
Mm-hmm. And what do people do when they need money, though? When they need to buy a car or whatever? How do they get around that?
Well, we've got Graham, who's a builder. He's good. He makes good money doing that. We've got Tim, who puts on workshops. I've been putting on workshops who can bring in a reasonable sum of money. We don't need a huge amount of money here, not really, but some. There's always ways and means, I suppose. When we really want to make dosh, we'll find some way. There's, of course, quite a lot of black work, so the network of knowing people and showing oneself as a good worker, that the reputation goes around, and then the word comes out, hey, can you give us a hand with this? So our network really extends over about 50 kilometers to 100 kilometers,
Okay, coming up to the first break, David. So we'll put your message thing on, and we'll chat on the break. Thanks for listening to I Am Nature, guys. We'll be back.
Okay.
Welcome back to I Am Nature. I'm your host, Brian Porter, and I have with me this week David Dene, a regular guest on our show, and he's really has done really well in his life. Oh, we got a bit of an echo here. Back off the mic a bit. I think that's better. So, Dave, are you with us?
Yeah, I am. I'm here, Brian. Yeah, great.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, we sort of led you through the early stages of your life and what led you to live in an eco-village, and I guess things were going quite well for you in the village, but then some big agricultural development came along and is threatening now your water supply.
Yeah. The first development which came along was for 2 golf courses, 36 holes, a new town, helipad, European Conference Center. This was a plan which came out from America, in fact, and the guys came out with a couple of Hummers and looked like they wanted to take over our local town, which they did. They gave 600,000 euros to help rebuild the Ayuntamiento, and then they were told that there wasn't enough water and were sent away. What happened after that was the development of this water, and planting massive numbers of olive trees at 1,800 olive trees per hectare. So that's 900 every acre. And I think you can imagine that number of olive trees needs a lot of irrigation. And we've got 5,300 hectares, so that's 10,600 acres, 10,000 of land over this aquifer, which supports the river flowing in our village, taking the water. It's quite a black and white case. We've been working at the national level to absolutely zero effect, because rather like the Wild West where we live, the lifeblood of the system is money, and the province of Almeria is basically run on money rather than law. So when we have local people who want to trash the environment, putting it rather crudely, because that's actually what's happening, they get away with it. And although we've got European law on transparency and national law on transparency and an international convention on transparency regarding environmental issues, definitely such as water, we cannot get information out of the Department of the Environment, and we've been trying for a year. So we've had 6.
Let's just take it back a few steps
yeah.
here, Dave.
Yeah, man. Yeah, go for it.
Did they have to get pre-approval from the community before they put in this huge project? Did they even have to consult with you guys?
Well, this is a provision, and what tends to happen in these situations is that the advice is put in a difficult place to see and not advertised as being advice or free and open prior consultation. Also, I mean, that's nicely raised. I mean, that's a prime principle. Bottom line is, if we were consulted, we didn't notice that we were consulted, and I certainly didn't see and hear of any meetings organized by the local councils to talk about massive exploitation of the aquifer for olive plantations. No way. It kind of occurred step by step until now we've got a really bad situation. The local politics know, and also working with big NGOs, Ecologists in Action, Group Ecologists Mediterranean, big NGOs, no go at all. So we're looking here at protection of nature, rights of nature, protection of the environment. So next step was the European Union. And I was working with, and still am, with the End Ecocide Worldwide team, particularly with Thomas Eitzenberger, who is the voice for this team. With his help, I wrote to 54 Spanish members of the European Parliament. I told them I was going to be up on Tuesday afternoon, and I could meet all of them then. And I got 2 replies, which is what I expected. I didn't expect many. And out of those 2 replies, we got a parliamentary question in the European Parliament. And we have at the moment a petition running in the European Parliamentary Petitions Committee. They have a big backlog. We're 6 months down the line. I keep uploading information, and we will be called to Brussels eventually to give evidence about this case. And then the Petitions Committee have the power to order an immediate investigation. But to go a couple of steps back, the parliamentary question yielded a response, and the response was, this is happening in other areas of Spain. Our directives for Nature 2000, protection of birds, protection of habitat, and protection of areas which are of special European importance and interest are not being followed. There is non-compliance in many areas of Spain. So we as the European Union will address this matter and will address the nation state of Spain. Well, for us, that's nothing. So then I moved, my next step was to move up to the United Nations in Geneva, to the United Nations High Commissioner's Office on Human Rights. And
let's step back a bit here, David. And did you try the European Citizens Initiative? I remember we spoke about this earlier. What's your issue with the European Citizens Initiative? Is it you don't think it's an effective vehicle?
Okay. Well, actually, just at 8 o'clock this evening, I was having a conversation with Carlston Berg, who is largely responsible for reorganizing and putting pressure on the Commission to reorganize the European democratic system of the European Citizens Initiative. At the moment, it's very, very unwieldy because we've got 28 countries, we've got 28 languages, and we've got we, being the European Citizens Initiative, the government, the Commission, the website is horribly clunky. And it asks people for names, addresses, passport, date of birth, mother's name, father's name. This is not enrolling. So within the ECIs which have been held, European Citizens Initiatives, about 50% of people who would be signing up don't sign because of the problems with the website and with the registration. So that's being reviewed right now. It is the only form of democracy actually in the European Union, which is rather bad news when we think it's maybe like the federal states of America. I don't know how much democracy you guys have. We're a bit short at the moment. But what I'm finding is that when it comes to protecting the environment, I find that we work with the fundamental rights of the human being. And one of those defined by the High Commissioner's Office in Geneva for Human Rights is the right of a human being to have a safe and sustainable environment. So we've gone directly for that human right, and that authority within the United Nations, who is called the Special Rapporteur, worldwide Special Rapporteur, who observes when there's non-compliance with one of these human rights. And for us, it's this. And he's agreed to look at this. This is really the highest level we can get. So,
how many of these, Dave? How many of these special rapporteurs are there at the UN?
I think we've got 30 or 40, in looking at different areas of child abuse, torture, water, safe environment, freedom of speech. At the moment, there's a special rapporteur looking at the situation in America around the issue of whistleblowers. And this does very much appear to be a denial of the right of a person to speak. Interesting, huh?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that, well, in your country, too, it's worse.
Yeah. You
get arrested for taking a picture in the wrong place.
Well, man, we've got really draconian laws now. If I'm to go up to a policeman and take his picture, I can be fined up to 60,000 euros. And we start at 600. It's draconian. It's insane.
And what sort of picture are you trying to take there that would get you that kind of a fine?
Oh, just a full body or a mug shot or anything. And we certainly can't record police either. So they've given themselves, how we say in France, a carte blanche. The white card for bad behavior. My policy is, if the police are getting a bit lippy, I say, hey, remember, I have my rights. And this seems to quieten them down a bit. We usually get on fine. This is life in the 21st century, really, isn't it?
Have people gotten fines of that magnitude in Spain?
I don't know, Brian. I've not heard of. Nothing's come to my ears of anybody being caught up in this one, and they may well have been. I would think if I was Mr. Rajoy, who's the president prime minister, I would ask the police to hold back on this. I think, seeing the situation, the financial and the work situation in Spain, with about 28% of the population out of work, it's a good idea to have law in place in case of extreme social unrest. People are not happy. And we're all, because I guess I've been here 25 years, so it's a we're all getting on, and down here in Andalusia, the sun shines, there's good family connection, good networks, but it's not good.
I would have thought because of your relative peace and tranquility there, and the fact that you're creating your own food and energy, that with the amount of unemployment, and I assume there's a lot of people without a home in Spain, that you would have been approached by some of these people at your village.
Yeah, I mean, what way approached? I mean, like, hordes of people coming and descending on the village, or?
Well, no, I'm just people. Well, coming by, looking for a place to live, some food. Some people. Are you sort of isolated there, or do people? A lot of people know that you're there, or is it more an issue of? I'm thinking you're probably somewhat isolated. Most of these people are probably hanging out in the cities, right?
Yeah, I mean, the problem of homelessness is basically in the cities. Here we have an unusual occurrence in Almeria, which is about 40,000 hectares of greenhouses. So this is 40,000 hectares. We've got 80,000 acres now. It's one of the biggest areas in the world of underplastic growing. But we also have a massive refugee problem coming out from Africa. And we have, in these greenhouses, we have thousands of refugees. They're living there, mate. Very strange, very strange. I live in a very strange province.
They're living. So I shouldn't laugh, but they're living in the greenhouses. They're living in the greenhouses.
Yeah, like town.
Are they working there too, or are they just like moving in?
Government give support. I mean, this is we got North Africa off the south coast of Spain. So the north coast of Africa is running parallel to the south coast of Spain, and of course then that goes along into Greece, Italy, Bulgaria, and we've got immigrants coming over from Africa in a flood. 2,000 were picked up 2 weeks ago by the Italian lifeguard, all semi-drowning. We have ships being sent over by bandits, basically in Libya, with 500 people on small ships. The ships sink. It's in Europe. The problem with refugees is really serious. I don't know if you hear about it in America. Do you hear about this?
Oh yeah, it's pretty much in the news now, even in the mainstream in the evenings.
Okay.
Germany's taking in 800,000. I heard they've committed to 800. I don't know how many Spain's committed to, but I think this might be something that creates some problems for. I guess some cities have tripled in population over in weeks, close to where they're coming in. So I'm sure you're more aware of what's going on there. We've made a small commitment. We're in an election here right now, so they're talking about it. The people running for re-election here in election, and they're talking about bringing some to Canada as well, mainly Syrians.
Syrians. They've lost 4 million Syrians are refugees because of the war. And here's one for you, Brian. It obviously falls right into your lap. This is what happens when we're run by an industrial war machine, which attacks a country like Syria, and we have 4 million refugees because of that machine. It's so, isn't it? I mean,
it plays like the game of Risk. It just says, okay, well, we want this country now, and they're in the right spot. Well, we also want to get rid of the Russians who have influence in that country, and it's just a big chess game for them. It's a big, basically, in my opinion, it's just a run on the U.S. and Western nations are trying to create one superpower to run the planet, and anything the Russians are doing, they're trying to knock out and take over, and that's what happened in Ukraine, and that's what's happening in Syria, and that's what's happened in Libya, and all those areas. And also everyone in the Middle East, many of the countries there, it's against the law to have interest. And of course, our bankers
that's right.
That's sacrilegious. I mean, what? You can't have interest? How can we make money when you can't have interest?
Well, what do? I think you just send it around the world to other places. But, the concept of no interest is totally correct. I mean, imagine we had no interest. We wouldn't have $700 trillion in derivatives floating around the planet. 700 billion. Man, it's insane.
It's the greatest part of the Quran, in my opinion. They finally, and this is something I'm working on in my book I'm writing about, addressing the weaknesses in our belief systems, in our economic belief systems, trying to renaturalize everything, because it's about time we had a system that everyone could buy into, that dealt with sort of the natural law, the natural needs of our species. Because a lot of these systems, like Christianity and the Quran is unique, but the Judaism and a lot of these more recent religions, they don't have any practical guides for how people should be living, like connected to, like in the Christian system, the Christians were thrown out of the garden. Well, there's a lot of garden left here. There's a lot of garden left here, folks. I mean, there's no reason why you have to stay out of the garden. So, I mean, it's just, it's fascinating the way, as you say, where you live, and this is what the beautiful thing about an eco-village is, that it actually frees people. They come together to collectively organize and provide their basic needs. And then after that's done, it's like, wow, I have all this time to explore my individuality, which is what nature is based upon, individuality after the common needs are met. It's beautiful.
Well said. Yeah. And that's what we endeavor to promote in this village, really, because we're real people. You know, we're not tied into a way of being that society says we have to be. We can be who we are, responsible, get the job done. And in this case, with the water, we've actually got to the United Nations in 1 year and 2 months. We've managed to get through all the process right up to the human rights. And it's like, well, is this really a bunch of hippies, or is this actually people who've got they've got their lives together?
It's beautiful. I mean, you're resilient. This is the key of a small community. You're resilient. You work well together. You care. And this is what we're going to get to this in the second hour about what's going on in Ecuador and how these very brave, tough indigenous people who have never actually given up their right to the land are fighting so hard against the government. I find this just, to me, it's so invigorating. The first thing our elite system, our elite leaders want us to do is to give up and just let them trounce over us and create slaves out of everyone. But the people who stand up and work together, it's just beautiful to see. And it's happening all over the place. I mean, this is one of the things I try to show on my show and bring out, is that there's a lot of people on this planet who are working together, who are fighting the good fight, and it's got to be talked about. People have to know about it, and people have to support it.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of people coming through the house here. You said, where are we? We're kind of in that paradox place between the middle of everything and the middle of nowhere. We have an airport 45 minutes away. We have a motorway running about 5 kilometers away, and yet we're in this little valley, this little oasis with this little river, and we're completely off-grid. So we're very accessible. On the other hand, we're kind of, in a way, invisible too. And the rocks all around are made of selenite crystal, which is gypsum rock. And so they shine. And so we're in a kind of crystal valley with a little river in the bottom. And then with the water, we've got, because we're very far south, we have an amazing ecosystem. That's why we're protected by we thought we were, we hoped we were, by the European Commission. And so we're unique in Europe. And it gives me more power when I'm explaining what's happening here, to say, hey, guys, there isn't another one like this, and we've got the protections, and so you can't protect us. And so I got onto this issue with the European Commission, with an interactive debate on these directives, which in theory protect us. And my comment was, well, these directives, they have no teeth. When we have a nation state which is incompetent, the directives in the European Commission have no ability to administer what they've set up to administer. Therefore, what is the point of having directives when they cannot be administered? Therefore, I really went at them, therefore, of course, if we've got something to administer, we need to make sure we can do it. And at the moment, it is completely ineffectual as far as I can see. In our case, we've got maybe 4 months more of the river flowing, because the extraction is so extreme, and it's so much in the face as well. And our problem is that the Department of the Environment were handed over the maintenance of this aquifer in 2010, and it looks like they've fallen into giving concessions to people who put a bit of money in the back or whatever, though I can't say that, you know what I mean?
Oh, baby, I know what you mean, man.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, another break coming up, David. We'll be back soon, and thanks all for listening to I Am Nature.
Thank you.
Welcome back to I Am Nature. I am your host, Brian Porter. And folks, you wouldn't be hearing this show right now if it wasn't for Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com on your browser. Amazing platform, 80 different hosts, most of them extremely well-educated people who have been studying and fighting the good fight in whatever their area of expertise for many years, 30, 40 years, a lot of these people. I'm one of the rookies on the block, but I have the... I compensate by bringing in really good guests who kind of fill in the blanks for me. So, but hey, this is an amazing network, and you really, really need to support it, because basically what we have on Revolution Radio is the future of the planet. We have the solutions. We have the people who have the right attitude, who have the right conviction. And so what you're doing is you're supporting the new world, the real new world, not the one the elites are trying to bring in, but the one that's going to continue regardless of what happens here, regardless of any economic collapse or whatever shenanigans they throw at us. There's too many of us to vanquish, and we will rise up above. Believe you me. And my guest today is one of the experts in that area. So I hope you'll support the station some way, whether it's through the donate section. I'm always a big fan of subscribing to the archives for $5 a month. As I say, I use it all the time. I catch some of my favorite hosts, whether it's V or Dr. Truott, or I download all my shows, re-listen to them, get ideas. So, folks, this is the place to support. $5 a month is all I recommend, and you'll keep the station flying and going forward. And we're just getting better by the day. Okay, back to my great guest, David. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Brian. I'm doing well. I'm great. Yeah.
Okay, great. Do you ever listen to Revolution Radio, David, when you're not on?
Well, actually, I did have it on the other day. It was just like I'm in and out a lot, or else I'm working on all these other projects I'm on. So not really. I listen to BBC World News a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I find that very, very clean and clear, So it keeps me updated, so I get an idea of what's going on out there in the world, and that's quite important. Kind of leads into the Ecuador situation, really.
Yeah, we don't have, that's something I was going to talk to you about, maybe offline, about. I'm not sure I even have time to do another show. I'm so busy, but I'd like we need a show on international affairs. We don't have much beyond North America and Europe, and most of it's actually focused on U.S. politics and what's happening locally. But I think there's a lot of patterns that are established worldwide, and it would be nice if we had someone from a few people from every continent on the planet reporting on what's happening and what's really happening.
That would be good.
You. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice compliment to the network. I'm sure I could get it to fly, but anyways, let's move back into Ecuador, and maybe you should just give us a chronology of events. I guess you connected initially through your interest in health, and you met a shaman in Ecuador on a visit, or did he come to? Was he over in Europe?
But he was over in Europe. I'd met the plant medicines of Ecuador back in about the year 2001 in Amsterdam. And this was a shaman giving the vine ayahuasca. It's a very interesting plant medicine. So I went up to Amsterdam, thought, well, this is really interesting, and then invited that shaman down here. He was actually from America, and Then shortly later, I'm not quite sure how it all happened, but we had a shaman over from Ecuador, and he in turn invited me back to stay with him in Ecuador to have a family ceremony, a celebration to the year. So of course I said, yeah, great. So that was in about 2002, 2003. I established quite a strong connection with Ecuador. And a friend of mine from the Czech Republic, there was a young man 10, 12 years ago, well, he's 30 now, I'm not exactly an old man. But in those days, he was suffering really seriously from damaged knees. He was a skateboard maniac, and he'd really damaged his knees to the extent the doctor said, you need an operation. He being the man he was and has healed himself. And the way he's healed himself is with Tai Chi, diet, and using the ayahuasca. And he went out to stay with the shaman, and he's been studying with the shaman and has himself become a shaman, with the full appreciation of the existing folk out there.
Now, you gave me his contact information, didn't you, after I first met you?
Yeah, this was Mira. Yeah, that's right. Well, yep. He wrote back to me and said he's really super busy at the moment, and he'd be interested in coming on the show.
Okay, because I didn't hear back from him. Okay.
And it was him who made some YouTube presentations of the tribal leaders, the Shuar, explaining the situation with the Chinese mining conglomerate, who are intending to completely trash their environment with a monster open pit copper and gold mine. That monster is monster. It's a grande escala, it's called. That is big scale. That represents a kilometer deep pit and a 3 kilometer wide crater, destroying 230 springs of water and contaminating massive amounts of water. And that basically will destroy them. And the president, Rafael Correa, was elected back in 2007 on the platform of being totally for the indigenous people, for the rights of nature, for the good life, for the freedom of expression, the freedom to live well. And he called it the Citizens' Revolution, where all the citizens...
Did he not bring in the rights of nature into the Constitution?
Man, brilliant Constitution. We can refer to it in the rights of nature organizations around the world as the best Constitution in the world. It was really well drafted using the expertise of Bill Twist of Pachamama Alliance. And I mean, man, it's a superb piece of Constitution, shall we say. But it's never been put into the legal framework of Ecuador. So it's there. The president got himself elected on these promises to create the Constitution, which he did, on the promises of letting go of a neoliberal capitalist structure and to be creating an Ecuador for the people. Problem, financial. In order to create his citizens' revolution, he needed to borrow money. He decided that the best thing to do was to not pay back the money which he owed to the IMF, which then put him into a position where the West, America, IMF, World Bank, are not prepared to lend him money without charging an interest rate which they couldn't afford. So they went to China. Result, big interest payments to be made to China. The price of oil right now being sold in Ecuador is down to $30 a barrel. So it just about covers producing it, if that. And they've got to pay the money back. So what he's done is to go back on his promises of looking after everybody and the environment. And he's opened 4 million hectares of virgin forests in southeastern Ecuador to Chinese oil concessions. Now that is most totally against any human right of prior consent, prior, you know what I mean? Prior consultation and information consent.
And I just want to bring up another point here, David.
Yeah.
Part of this low oil price is to hurt the Russians, right? Because we're trying to take over the global trade in oil and gas and carbon fuel system. And it also, I can see now, it plays very well into the hand of the Chinese and the major multinational corporations because it's hurting the economies of the poor nations that are relying on oil production. And
Oh, man,
and so
disaster.
doing that, they're going to take land instead of royalties or payments on the debt, right? And I assume that
yeah.
they have a very poor royalty structure there too. The Chinese got one hell of a deal. Whoever is running the, I guess it's Chevron, right? Who's in there big time?
Chevron was there, and your courts in Canada have given Chevron and the Ecuadorian indigenous people the right to claim their $9 billion dollar damages from Chevron, and it's the first court in the world is your court in Ontario. Chevron is saying, no, we're going to fight this, we're going to fight this, we're going to fight this. It's the biggest claim, I believe, in history. I don't know if Deepwater Horizon actually went bigger than this, but it was 18 billion. And this was for the unbelievable damage done to northeast Ecuador. And I know it's unbelievable because I've been there. And I've been in the places where Chevron was working, where they say they've cleaned up the mess they've made. And I've been there with a spade and opened the earth, and there's black oil underneath the earth. And Chevron say, yeah, we cleaned it. The groundwater is polluted.
They covered it. They didn't clean it. They covered it.
Yeah, man, they just covered it. I mean, they are real bandits. They are an example of corporate banditry on a huge scale, and it's very easy to see it as well. They're a nightmare. So the tribal people of Ecuador, they all kind of know each other, you know. There's a confederation of nationalities. Ecuador is a plurinational state, and each tribe is granted the position of being a tribal nation. So they have their own constitutions within the Constitution of Ecuador. And what President Correa is doing is trampling on their constitutional rights and their human rights. And if Correa is allowed to continue to do what he's doing, they're going to lose their land. So we have an uprising when the first manifestation of the uprising was on August 13th, 15th, followed by a nationwide strike, because also the people of Ecuador do not appreciate the way their president is taking over total power. He's basically taken over the Constitutional Court. He's put an amendment into the Constitution to say that he should be up for re-election indefinitely. You know, kind of thing we hear in Africa. Interesting, no? So what's happening there is that the first uprising occurred all over the country. There were human rights abuses, which the United Nations are on right now. There were summary arrests, the military and police going into people's houses, dragging people out. Really, you know, what should we say, bad behavior. At the moment, it's all quiet. I'm in touch with my friends down in Galiquiza, which is in the jungle, and also in Quito. The next mobilization, the next uprising, revolution, will be on September the 16th. The whole country is under martial law, and this is because the volcano Cotopaxi erupted 3 weeks ago. So this is an extraordinary situation. Parts of the Constitution have been disabled by martial law, as long as that martial law is only applied to the situation surrounding the Cotopaxi volcanic emergency. And what President Rafael Correa has been found doing is filling Morona Santiago with Special Marine Corps, military and police, and effectively militarizing the zone. They imprisoned 15 people, or was it, no, I think it was 25, between 15 and 20, and all but one's been released. And there were 6 or 7 in Galiquiza, also arrested, also being released. And they're arrested for blocking the road. Within the Constitution, every citizen has the right, in fact, the duty to protect the water. They're blocking the road because they're having a manifestation saying we demand our rights as human beings. And this tension is building in Ecuador right now. I was speaking to friends in Quito today, and the situation today is the government is not moving. The next mobilization will take place again with a call for general strike. The volcano continues to erupt. State of emergency is in place. And you notice how little there is in the world press. Isn't that kind of interesting? Well, I have no idea what it means, but it's interesting.
Well, it sounds too like a dry run for what they're planning for here too, especially in the U.S.
Really?
With Jade Helm, and yeah, I wouldn't. They do. We've talked a lot about the unknown weapon systems of the military-industrial complex, and this. I was reading about this volcano. It hadn't erupted for over 100 years, right? And
Yeah.
it's on a fairly long terms of the schedule, or the past eruptions are quite spread apart. I mean, some of them went for like 1,000 years once, recorded eruptions.
Yeah, let me have a look. I think I can pull this up. Basically, it's really dangerous.
I was looking at a site about it. They had all the recorded times of eruptions in the past, and it this thing could have been set off. I believe that we have the ability to do all sorts of interventions in natural systems. We can create earthquakes. We can certainly get a volcano to erupt. I have no doubt that they've been studying this stuff. They've been working on these weapon systems for years. It's part of it was mentioned in legislation put forward by Dennis Kucinich in the U.S. Congress, and it was, of course, they put it off to the Defense Department, which is basically running the U.S. And they turned it down because, of course, they want to be able to weaponize everything on the planet. So there's a strong possibility in my mind that this volcano was set off to create the conditions for martial law, and in coordination with their efforts to defeat this uprising.
It's a brilliant scenario. The manifestation on the ground is very complicated. It's a brilliant scenario. I get update Wednesday today. The activity continues, but has been less intense during the past days. Weak to moderate intermittent explosions, ash plumes, etc. Yeah. So
it's kind of text for saying, "Oh no, everybody stay in your homes. It's not safe to go out." Right.
It's really dangerous. Yeah, but this really is a dangerous one. This one does really serious damage. So the government is really fulfilling its duty, certainly in the words it's using. On the ground, we're hearing.
Are the main cities at risk though? Is not the ash going? I would think is the wind prevailing wind there going east?
Running west, running across the whole country as far as the Pacific, with farmers. Yeah, so it's Cotopaxi is a little bit south of Quito and a little east of Quito, and the ash is actually going up as high as 4 kilometers and going out to the Pacific Ocean. And in the immediate vicinity, there has been quite a lot of ash falling, and people have got nothing to feed their cows or themselves because there's ash on the food, and the animals can't eat the food with ash on.
Right.
So, I mean, there really are quite serious problems going on.
Yeah. Oh, so, no, I'm sure that there are real problems. I'm just wondering about the origins of this thing, and I'm just a bit dubious as to whether or not it's a natural occurrence. But regardless of that, I mean, they don't need to have such a tight track down on the public. I mean, they know they're not stupid. I mean, we're not stupid. We don't need the government to tell us that it's a dangerous situation. I mean, people know.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Oh yeah. I mean, within the country and within the country newspapers, I'm reading people saying, well, this is all very well, putting a clampdown on communications, on Facebook, on all social media, clampdown on movement, serious violations of human rights. Exactly what you say. It's absolutely happening there. And in theory, just for the volcano, but in practice, infringement, abuse of human rights. United Nations in there, getting the job done, which is great. And then we see, well, what's going to happen? The government's still in standoff. Morona Santiago is still militarized. The tribal people, they're fighting for their survival. So they're going to keep going till something breaks. And we hope it isn't society, and we hope the government talks.
Have they started this mine yet?
Yeah, I do have some pictures from the Mirador mine, and pictures of there are JCBs and diggers, and several hundred hectares of pure virgin forest have been completely flattened. The Tundaimi River, where there was a small village at the bottom of the Tundaimi River, is now dead. The village of San Marcos, the mining company bulldozed down the church, bulldozed down the school, and displaced a 90-year-old lady, as well as other people. So we have a human rights cases running there. It's mayhem. These people are very hard to stop. We also have a special rapporteur in China who's been talking to the Chinese Foreign Office about the situation in Ecuador. So again, it's coming to human rights to protect the environment. Quite interesting, this one, Brian. It's a new understanding for me, because I'm on the case of protecting the environment, both here in Spain, where I'm the indigenous person, and in Ecuador, where I'm the coordinator between the Ecuador indigenous people and the United Nations. Quite interesting place to be.
Is it the same department of the United Nations you're working with, the special rapporteur?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Is it the same person or a different person?
We have the same special rapporteur for the right to a safe and healthy environment, a safe and sustainable environment. This is the same rapporteur. Yeah. He has others working underneath him, and it'll be a lady called Melinda Chin, who I'm also working with on the Ecuador case. So we are, because we're working on the same human right issue, although one is relating to a whole country of indigenous people, and the other relates to a small community in Spain, we are equal, because we are all undergoing the infringement, the taking away of our fundamental rights as humans. And these fundamental rights as humans actually protect nature, because if we don't have a protected nature, rights for nature, we ain't going to have any humans. And so what I'm learning is that is the situation, and I want to learn and continue to be well spoken about this, and to be able to put this across as something we need to do, is to understand that we must have rights for nature, because if we don't, it's human rights which we've got to apply to when we're kind of dying, because the nature is dying, and because there's no nature, there's no humans. Do you get that kind of circle, Brian? Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're
Yeah.
singing to the choir here, buddy. My only concern is that my buddy Ron Stevens, who has a show on the network, and many people other hosts on the network, do not believe that the UN has enough power, and it's actually, they don't even believe it actually is acting in the interest of humanity most of the time. It's just another administrative layer in the government, as you spoke about the European Parliament, all these people with position, but they really do nothing but move papers around on their desk. So I mean, I'm not that cynical. I do believe that there are some good people.
You're a bit cynical there, Brian. Yeah.
in the UN. I mean, and it certainly doesn't hurt as part of your case, and when you're working with the local people, they say, hey, we got the UN behind us. They think this is a problem. I don't think that's a. I mean, I have no problem with people going to the UN. I just think that the real solution to all these issues is local activity, local protesting, and you take it as far as you need to achieve your results.
Well, the corruption here, local, we can't do it. It's the corruption is entire. This is like it is when you watch those spaghetti westerns. There isn't much rule of law here, not really. It's the rule of money, and that makes
most definitely
local level. So what I've done is I've been physically shaken by the hand, the people we're working with in the UN, so I can see, hey, what quality of person have I got in front of me? And I see very high quality. And there may be areas of the UN which are completely stuffed, but the quality of the people that I met with the Shua leaders over 5 days in the UN was very high quality. And there's what we call Mickey Mouse goes on in the UN, the same as it goes on in the European Union, the same it goes on in our village, in our, next door village. That Mickey Mouse happens everywhere. The UN, the scale is big, the corruption is big. In the village, it's a bit smaller probably, but yet within a corrupt system, there are definitely good people. And I'm happy to be able to talk on this show and say, yes, there are good people there. And yes, they are making a difference. And yes, the Ecuadorian press have picked up the work of the United Nations and put that all over the Ecuadorian newspapers, saying, hey guys, at least there's somebody doing something for us. This is the kind of the counterbalance of maybe previous guests you've had. And I'm very happy to be able to put in a counterbalance.
Well, I mean, it hasn't been a predominant theme on my show that the UN sucks.
Okay.
Because I guess I like you. I mean, I agree. I mean, there are people in all large organizations, even as much as I detest the military and what they're doing around the planet, there are good people. There must be, or we wouldn't be here right now. I mean, they've had the capacity to destroy this place many times, and they've actually tried to, and they haven't succeeded. So there are good people everywhere. And so the issue is bringing together those good people to make the change. And so I don't discriminate against people based upon their position or whatever. Like you say, I look at the character of the person. I ask them the right questions. I see what level of sacrifice is made in their life to become who they are. And there's no way you can become a good person in this world unless you're willing to make sacrifices, because there's no incentive to be a good person anymore. None whatsoever.
Yeah, I think we got to learn the tricks of life, and that's to give, and then happiness comes.
Well, yeah, and give without expecting anything in return, because this is what screwed us up in our character, is that everybody has bought. Everybody has to be paid to be good, if they're even good. But we have to learn to give just because we know it's the right thing to do. Ethics, the return of ethics. I'm always speaking about the importance of ethics in life. And God, our scientists have learned nothing about ethics. All they learn is that go work for the military-industrial complex. You'll make lots of money and have a nice home, and probably take trips around the world and enjoy all the luxuries of life. But don't worry about the fact that you're using knowledge systems that are not being employed to the benefit of mankind, but to the detriment and the planet, not just us.
Okay, looks like we're on.
Well, it sounds like we're getting to the end of the bottom of this hour. So thanks all for listening to I'm Nature and David Dene, and we'll be back with more on what's going on in Ecuador. Welcome back to I'm Nature. I'm your host, Brian Porter, with our special guest, David Dene, speaking to us all the way from Spain, where it is now, I think, 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that's
still awake,
it.
Dave?
Yeah, we're going strong. I've got a cup of coffee here. I'm well. No problem.
Well, you're better off than those poor people living in Ecuador who are fighting these mining and oil magnates, I'll tell you. When's the last time you were over in Ecuador, personally?
Wow. Let me think, Brian. Let me think. I think we've got to be... it may have been January, but round about 2 years ago. I was in January in Quito. I went to a meeting of Rights of Nature worldwide, like a summit conference meeting. It's really quite privileged to be there. And that's actually when I got involved with the Rights of Nature. That's when I met Munta Ito. I think you've had her on your program.
Munta was there. Munta was there.
She was there. She enrolled me as taking over the job of coordinating all the different countries in Europe to raise 1 million votes to use the European Citizens Initiative to bring legislation into every country in Europe which covers rights for nature. Nice idea, no? And we're working on it.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Definitely work in progress. We're going to launch in 2017 in April. And so we got this next year to make alliances with NGOs, Greenpeace, Friends of the Earth. So we set up a big network of alliances and also teams in each country in Europe. So this is a big project, nice one. I really like it. And
I was extremely impressed with Mumta.
yeah, she's great. She's great.
Yeah. She has a beautiful energy.
And I think you've also had Robin Milan from California, yeah?
Yes, yeah, she was on.
Yeah, that's great. I work with her as well. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that we I set up, or we set up here. We set up an Avaz petition to the Ecuadorian Constitutional Court to uphold their constitution. We did one from here for Europe, and then Robin collected from USA, and then we sent our petition signatures. We collected them here, and then sent them across to the USA, and then Robin put them together, and then from Robin they got sent to Natty Green over in Ecuador, and she presented them to the court. And they said, "What a nice lot of signatures. They don't mean anything to us, mate." And really were of no protection to nature at all, and no protection to the Ecuadorian Constitution, which is why actually we're now in a condition of revolution and uprising. And it's very.
Well, tell me a bit about the Shuar people. I mean, not a lot of people know that there are indigenous people. We're all led to believe by the mainstream that, oh, they were all defeated and they all just laid down and said, yes, give us your God. We'll take on the Bible and we'll become Western. But a lot of them have rejected this way of life, and I think the Shuar fit into that category.
Yeah, the Shuar very definitely. They're one of the most were very much a warring tribe, or a tribe of great sense of self and sense of who we are when we're the Shuar tribe. You know, a sense of identity and power.
Well, they weren't imperialistic, but they believed in warrior, being the sacred warrior, right?
Yeah,
defending their territory, defending their way of life, their language, their culture. This is beautiful.
And a very strong spiritual base. Arutam is the spirit of the Shuar, and Arutam is the spirit of water. And Arutam is being destroyed by this.
You know what? They're right on the money, because the closest thing on this planet to God is water, and I've had a few shows on that. I completely agree. That's beautiful. Yeah. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, and this is what they're having to take to the streets and block the roads for, and resist the government all over Ecuador in order to allow Arutam to exist and to support their lives, because without water they can't live. And when we start to put heavy metals into the water, the bioaccumulation is an absolute nightmare. It comes through the fish, it comes through into the groundwater, it comes into the plants, it comes into the little grubs which eat the plants, and then the birds eat the little grubs which eat the plants. And so when we have a mine of that size, we've got a creeping cancer. And the president of the Latin American Court of Human Rights agreed with the Shuar leaders there, saying that this could be described as a case of ethnocide, which is more than genocide. It is the absolute destruction. You notice again, we had to be at the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, not anything to do with the environment, but it's human rights. I feel it's really important, Brian, to get this message over. And the people who know about those rights, the indigenous people, like the Shuar people, who live with that absolute closeness to nature. We, in our societies, talk about permaculture. Well, they live it. You know, I can go into the jungle and I see places where we got bananas growing, and another area for other vegetables for the community. And it works, you know.
Well, my guest John Apsley, he I went all over the world, and he he was my third guest, and he went around. He's the one who said that water is closest to God. And I agree with him. It's all been confirmed in his research, and he's 35 years researching the best diet, the best lifestyles on the planet, and he said that basically the longest living, healthiest, most vibrant people have highly energized water, which is God, in my opinion. They have all natural food sources that are fed by this water, And
Yeah.
they have an ethical system where the bottom line is that everyone loves one another. If the smallest little thing goes wrong, everybody in the tribe is there to help. It's just the most beautiful way of living. I call it tri-energetics: love nature, love God, love each other. And this is the foundation of our species. This is the human soil. And I'm pretty sure that where you live now, it closely replicates this. This is the direction. This is the destiny of our species. This is where we have to get back to, right? I don't care whether you live in a big city or a small city. It can be done anywhere. It's a matter of getting the educational system changed and teaching us this is the human soil.
That's really right. I've met 3 tribes in Ecuador. One's the Waironi, who live very close to Usuni National Park. Now, those people really are what I would call tribal. Not too much contact with white people, very much in the unbelievable hospitality. You know, a welcoming dance, you know, full ritual.
Beautiful.
And then welcoming, and then we were practicing with the blowpipe and throwing the spear, and just lovely people. And they were particularly welcoming because the people we were with had installed for them a freshwater drinking system, because they were suffering from pollution from Chevron of groundwater. When it rained, then the oil would wash out of the jungle and wash into their groundwater, and then their children would be sick. So what Sting, you know, the singer, set up a charity to produce fresh drinking water by collecting water off the roofs, putting it through a carbon filter, and then the second 1-ton tank was 1 ton of drinking water for the villages. And I went round with these people to several villages in the area, and wow, that was really making the difference. Because the damage from Chevron is not only the air, it's actually the underground water. And the animals are also died. It's really shocking, you know, and I would say that I was shocked by what I saw, and it takes a reasonable amount to shock me. You know, another thing I saw in Europe was the destruction of Vukovar, and how a 20th century town in the 20th century had been reduced to rubble. That was shocking. That was shocking, and northeastern Ecuador, the toxic tour is called, that was also shocking. So there's 2 points in my life.
I understand that the government has given away a third of the rainforest. I guess a lot of this rainforest has already been cut down, but a third of the land of Ecuador is basically owed to transnational interests, governments, and transnational corporations. Is that not the arrangement or the agreement that the president made?
Yeah, there is certainly rumor, there's talk that the president has given that some of the sovereignty of his country as collateral for the amount of money he's borrowed. And reading the Ecuadorian newspapers is like, are we going to lose Galapagos? You know? Yeah, that has, I believe, happened. And so Ecuador is being really squeezed to meet its oil export quotas. It's a very weird situation. They've just made another deal with Thailand, and it's an oil deal. At $30 a barrel, I don't think that's going to work. You know, the whole system in Ecuador has got to change, the same as it has all over the world got to change. You know, we see in Ecuador a microcosm of the problem, which is the world problem. Dominating government, people seeing clearly that if they allow this dominating government to continue, that they will lose their quality of life. And saying, okay, it's so close now, so close to the bone, this is all we can do is to take to the streets. And when I was with them, say 2.5 years ago now, I remember Domingo in an assembly of the people saying, we will fight till our last breath. And man,
good.
You know,
that's the attitude we all have to take. We are under attack, folks. We are not, and you can't go hide in the corner in your house, folks. We all have to get up, and we all have to fight against this scourge, against the planet. This is not just an unconscious drive, but this is an intentional change of the biosphere. David. They are developing different species of humans to live on a different type of biosphere. This is all part of this national defense spending that's all hidden, and once in a while some report surfaces about trillions of dollars missing. I mean, this is part of the plan. And many people think it's satanic. I don't know. I mean, whatever you want to call it. To me, the words don't matter. What the issue is it's bad. It's bad for us. It's got to be stopped.
Absolutely, and it's a good thing there are people who are prepared to stand up against this abuse of the citizens, us.
But it's happening everywhere. David, it's happening here. I mean, we've got nuclear power everywhere. We've had accidents. We've got chemicals in the soil. I mean, I've got the 7 planet killers. It's happening everywhere. It's not just in Ecuador. But the reason I like to highlight is because the level of love, because there's a strong connection between the indigenous people and the land. To them, the land is like their brother and sister, like their mother, their father. You see, this is how connected they are, and this is why they're willing to I shouldn't say die for it, but I bet you they are. I mean, I certainly am. I mean, this is a beautiful planet, and we're letting it be taken over by corrupt forces, and it should not be allowed.
No, I mean, we very definitely have to stand up against this stuff. We have to find out what works. We have to discover what is the operating system of our planet. And if the operating system needs to be changed, which it does, then it's up to us to get the people out from positions of power, which we have put there. You know,
David, you're living in the operating system for the planet. The eco-village is the operating system for the planet. The way the Shuar people want to live is the operating system for the planet. It won't take very long for us to plant gardens everywhere, replant the trees, renaturalize this planet. It's just a matter of the people saying, hey, enough is enough. I'm tired of being poisoned. Let's do something about it.
Well, absolutely so. Absolutely so. I mean, just looking at this Margolis syndrome, where we can talk about something very weird going on in this spraying of nanotech particles into the atmosphere. And then we see strange things coming out of people's skin. And where did they come from? Where does this itching come from? What is this chemtrail actually got in it? And we find we've got a type of DNA in that chemtrail which doesn't normally naturally occur. So I agree with you, Brian. There's some really very strange underhand stuff going on there. And I read, or rather I watched that released film from the Pentagon talking about aerosol sprays and vaccinating people against any form of fundamentalism. Now, if we have a fundamental belief in anything, it's a fundamental belief which is our right to have. It can be a fundamental belief in the right to have water. And if a government feels it's a good idea to spray us with a vaccine to stop us being fundamental, that's a fundamental taking away of our rights to be human. You know what I mean on that one?
Oh, I mean, you've got to listen to some of Dr. Ott's shows about what, a lot of these vaccines now are coming from aborted fetuses. There's some pretty nefarious stuff going on out there, I'll tell you. I mean, I don't like to talk about the stuff on my show, but it's pretty scary what's going on. And I'm just, and the good news is that people are catching on. People are realizing it. I think when they first find out, it's kind of overwhelming, and they don't know what to do. And their first reaction is to go hide. And that's natural. But the more we come together, I'm hoping that I'd love to see like a stronger network of people fighting for the environment. I mean, on the ground. The Rights of Nature movement is a good thing. But I think in the end, what's going to make the difference isn't government. It's going to be the number of people like you and me who are willing to devote their lives to fixing this planet. Because governments, in my experience, governments are pretty much there to protect their butts, make sure they have a job, and whether or not they do anything of any use is irrelevant to them. They're really there just to have a job. So it's going to take people uprising, people who are who are willing to just lay it all out there to make the change. Now, whether it'll be enough or less is irrelevant, in my opinion. Is the issue is it's the right thing to do at every level.
I think it's the young people, Brian. Quite a lot of young people come through here, which is great.
That's beautiful. And, you're right. The young have more to lose.
Well, they have a tool which we never had. We've got the first generation on planet Earth, which is connected globally with a communication system which you and I are not as familiar with as I don't have children, but as your children are, for sure. And so we get the spark of change in that generation. That's what I say to these guys. I say, look, the present way things are going, the world will be very different in 20 years. So it's up to you guys to use your technology and to use this last 10 years training period. Now you have a tool which has never been seen on the planet before. Use it, guys. Use it. Understand what danger you're all in. It's your lives. You're the young generation. You've got to get up and do something. And that's the way I look at it, Brian, because I think that's where the spark comes from. Yeah, we can say, yeah, we're old enough. We've seen what it was like in the 60s. Or for me, I was born in 1948. So, I can remember the early 50s. I was brought up on a farm in the middle of England with dairy cows and pigs and turkeys and chickens and wheat and barley and oats, potatoes, and cabbages. Lovely lifestyle. And so I saw that, and I've been able to see how that's changed over the years. And I can see how it's changed here in Almeria. 20 years ago, a lot of freedom. Now, we move in the wrong direction, we get a fine. And this is happening all over the world. We're being squeezed as citizens into kind of boxes. And we know that's not right. And we need to remove the kind of devilish influence which is over us at the moment, which is one of ego and power, control, world trade, money, more minus numbers, basing an operating system on negative equity, in other words, capital which does not exist, negative capital. And our world economic system with $700 trillion of does not exist capital running around the planet every day, man, we are insane. And then we supply weapons to go and destabilize Syria, for instance. And then we get 4 million refugees. Where did that come from? War. I mean, Brian, aren't we crazy?
Well, I think that the people at the top are either completely power addicted or they're the movie. I think the movie about Wall Street there, The Wolf of Wall Street, was very illustrative of, I think, the way a lot of these people live. They're basically on uppers and downers. They're drug addicts. They're into the prostitution. They're in every vice on the planet, and they're running things. I mean, they're just completely out of touch. Yeah. But they have the power and the money, and that's all that matters right now to our species for the most part. So all that's going to have to change. And I think if there is an economic collapse, I think in the end it's probably going to be a good thing. I hate to say it, but I think it might help save the planet anyways. So
well, we've got to have a change. I mean, it's absolutely for sure. We had a nice scandal here. I just like to mention. We had the government of Andalusia with the credit card. They spent 40,000 euros on prostitutes. Now that is outstanding. But it's really outstanding. It's really outstanding to be caught.
Did you see The Wolf of Wall Street, the movie?
I've not seen it, but or have I? I think I've seen bits of it, and yep, that's how it is. Not good. Very corrupt. Very, very, very crazy. Very
and they have these layers. They have a buffer layer between them and the rest of us that sort of makes them look legitimate. All the lawyers in their suits, and they all look. They're higher functioning. They're the elite that is sane, but they basically love the money god, and they'll do anything they're told, and create any law or legislation or do any cover up that they're told to do. So, this is the real world. This is the world we live in. I'd love to see a movement. What do you think of this? To get kids out of school and plug them into like something like the Gaia Education Foundation. I'm hoping to get him on. Giovanni Chiario is the head of the Gaia Education. I'd love to see them set up an online university and take kids out of school and say, this is the way the world really works or could work. This is the way it is now. This is the way it could be. And let's make it happen. because kids are not being taught what the world really is. And I don't care how old they are. They have to learn that mommy and daddy are not living according to nature, and it's not going to be good for you when you get older. And it can be done in a way that's not destructive, and it's not overly negative, and kids can learn.
I mean, absolutely. We have a program here in Europe called Youth in Action, which is supported by the European Commission. It's good. Looks like we got some music coming in the back, or?
I think we're at the end of our show here, David. So, but
are we already?
Again. Yeah.
Wow.
It's 2:00 for you, 8:00 here. So
I'm still
thanks
going
again
strong.
for coming on, David.
Thank you, Brian.
Folks can look forward to hearing you on Angela Black's show next Thursday.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, Brian. It's been a pleasure.
And I might even call in. All right?
Okay, that's great.
Okay,
love you. Thanks a lot.
Bye all. I'm Nature.
Topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays, midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
Hi, this is Bo.
And this is Rocco.
And the Bo and Rocco Show is here to offer insight into legal and lawful remedies. Our goal is to remain free and help others remain free in an ever-increasing police-like state. With the help of our guests, we try to answer questions such as what went wrong and what can we do about it.
So tune into Revolution Radio at www.freedomslips.com Wednesday nights, 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to listen to the Bo and Rocco Show.
You don't need to expect us.
We're already here.
Revolution Radio.
Every Tuesday evening on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, we present our goddess spiritual warrior, Kathy Bilski.
I command. I call to the architect of the universe's divine creators and ask for permission to quantum leap the world in all life forms on all planes and dimensions, seen and unseen, connected with planet Earth, to let us go beyond our known potential into the greatest unknown golden age the universes and worlds and all planets have ever experienced.
Kathy teaches the spiritual truth so that you may create a better life and be able to make positive changes for yourself and for the planet. She helps us remember that we are not powerless, but very creative spiritual beings having an Earth experience. Time to quantum leap into the age of divine enlightenment and let Kathy provide you with the tools of knowledge you need to awaken spiritually. That's the Quantum Leap Show. Let Light Unite every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern on Revolution Radio Studio B.